Welcome to Tales by FELIX, where every story unlocks a new world. Remember to subscribe, like and share. Let's begin. Soft, romantic violin music, a montage of golden moments. Clara and Leo's wedding, her white dress flowing like a dream, his adoring gaze as they danced under twinkling lights. The scene shifts to cozy mornings in their sleek Manhattan penthouse, laughter over coffee, and late-night coding sessions side by side. Clara, a brilliant software engineer with a spark in her eyes, and Leo Maxwell, the charismatic tech mogul, seemed like the perfect power couple. But the music shifts, turning dissonant, as the camera pans to a dimly lit dining room, 5 years later. Clara, 8 months pregnant, stood in a crimson dress that hugged her baby bump, her hands nervously smoothing the fabric. The table was set for their 5th anniversary, candles flickering, a bottle of non-alcoholic wine chilling, and a homemade meal she'd spent hours preparing. She glanced at the clock. 8:17 p.m. Leo was late. Again. The door swung open, and Leo stormed in, his tailored suit slightly wrinkled, his face a mask of irritation. Clara's smile faltered. "You're here," she said softly, stepping forward. "I made your favorite, braised short ribs. I thought we could." "Look at you," Leo interrupted, his voice dripping with contempt. He gestured at her, his eyes raking over her swollen belly. "A tired housemaid, not the brilliant engineer I married." The words landed like a slap, stealing the air from the room. Clara froze, her hand instinctively cradling her stomach. "Leo, what are you saying?" Her voice trembled, but she held his gaze, searching for the man she'd loved. "This is our anniversary. We're about to have a child." He cut her off, his expression cold. "I filed for divorce, Clara. This penthouse, this life? It's mine. Your baggage now." He tossed a manila envelope onto the table, the papers sliding out with a soft thud. Divorce papers. Clara's knees buckled, but she caught herself on the edge of the table, her heart pounding. "Why?" she whispered, tears welling. "After everything we've built together?" Leo smirked, loosening his tie. "You're not part of my vision anymore. I need someone who can keep up, not slow me down." The cruelty in his tone was a blade, twisting deeper with every word. Thunder rumbles as the rain-soaked Manhattan street. Clara, clutching a small duffel bag, stood under a flickering street lamp, her pregnant silhouette stark against the neon city glow. The camera zooms in on her face, tears mixing with rain, her jaw clenched with defiance. Flashback to hours earlier, the penthouse door slamming shut behind her. It was 2 a.m. when Leo returned, not alone. Serafina, a statuesque woman in a sleek black dress, clung to his arm, her laughter sharp and mocking. "Get out," Leo barked, pointing to the door. "Now." Serafina's lips curled into a smug smile as she surveyed the penthouse, already claiming it. "Leo, please," Clara pleaded, her voice cracking. "This is our home. I'm carrying your child." "My child." Leo scoffed, his eyes glinting with malice. "A burden I didn't ask for. You're holding me back, Clara. Serafina understands ambition. You're just ordinary now." Clara's hands shook as she grabbed her bag, stuffing in essentials, a laptop, a few clothes, a photo of her and Leo from happier times. Serafina leaned against the counter, sipping Clara's wine. "Tick-tock, sweetheart," she purred. "This place isn't big enough for both of us." Back to the present, Clara trudging through the rain, her breath visible in the cold. She stopped at a payphone, her fingers trembling as she dialed her sister, Mia. "Clara, where are you?" Mia's voice was frantic through the static. He threw me out," Clara choked out. "I have nowhere to go. Get to my place. Now," Mia said firmly. "You're not alone." Clara hung up, her reflection in a puddle showing a woman broken but not defeated. As she walked, a fire sparked in her eyes. "You will regret this, Leo," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. A cramped, dimly lit apartment, the walls peeling, a stark contrast to the penthouse's opulence. Clara sat on a sagging couch, her duffel bag at her feet, her sister Mia brewing tea in the tiny kitchen. The soft clink of mugs was the only sound breaking the silence. Clara's hand rested on her belly, feeling a gentle kick from her unborn child. "You're stronger than this," Mia said, handing her a steaming mug. Leo's a fool, but you're Clara Voss, the woman who coded a neural network at 19. You're not done. Clara's eyes were red-rimmed, but she managed a small smile. I don't even know where to start, Mia. He took everything, our home, our savings. I'm starting from zero. Not zero, Mia said, her voice fierce. You've got your brain, your heart, and that baby. That's more than enough. Clara's gaze drifted to her old laptop on the coffee table, its screen cracked but functional. She opened it, the familiar hum grounding her. I can't let him win, she said, more to herself than Mia. Not for me, but for her. She patted her belly, her resolve hardening. That night, Clara didn't sleep. She scoured job boards, her fingers flying over the keys. Freelance coding gigs, consulting contracts, anything to rebuild. The camera lingers on her determined expression, the screen's glow illuminating her face. A notification pinged, a small project, $500. It wasn't much, but it was a start. A cluttered desk, papers strewn across it, Clara's laptop opened to a scanned copy of her prenuptial agreement. The music is low, suspenseful, as her eyes scan the dense legal text. She hadn't wanted a prenup, but Leo had insisted, citing his empire. Now, it might be her salvation. Clara's voiceover narrates, most saw this as a cage, a way to keep me in check. But I saw something else. Her finger traced a paragraph buried on page 17, a clause so obscure it had been overlooked by Leo's overconfident lawyers. It granted her a silent trust holding a 5% stake in Technoverse Innovations, Leo's biggest rival. It wasn't enough to control the company outright, but it was leverage, a ticking time bomb. She leaned back, her mind racing. Leo thought he'd stripped me of everything, she said to herself, a faint smile forming. He forgot who he married. To a flashback, Clara in a boardroom years ago, presenting a groundbreaking algorithm to Technoverse board. They'd been impressed, but Leo, then a rising star, had taken credit, sidelining her. The memory fueled her anger. She dialed Mia, her voice steady now. I found something. A way to hit back. What is it? Mia asked, leaning forward on the other end of the call. A stake in Technoverse. It's small, but it's mine. And it's enough to start a war. Mia whistled. You're going to take him down, aren't you? Not just him, Clara said, her eyes gleaming. His whole world. Clara researching Technoverse stock history, her notes scribbled with calculations. The clause allowed her to activate the trust anonymously, shielding her identity. She could buy more shares, quietly, without tipping off Leo. The music builds, a pulse of anticipation. Across a cluttered office, shelves overflowing with tech journals and old circuit boards. Elias Vance, a grizzled man in his 60s with sharp eyes and a salt and pepper beard, sat at his desk, tinkering with a prototype. The music is nostalgic, tinged with regret. Clara's voiceover, Elias was my mentor, the one who saw my potential when no one else did. Leo destroyed him, too. Flashback to a younger Clara, sitting across from Elias in a university lab. You've got a gift, kid, Elias said, his voice warm. You could change the world. He'd been Technoverse CTO, a visionary, until Leo's hostile takeover forced him out, branding him a has-been. Clara hesitated before dialing his number. The phone rang twice before Elias's gruff voice answered. Who's this? Elias, it's Clara. Clara Voss. She paused, her heart pounding. I need your help. A long silence. Then, Clara? I heard what that snake Leo did to you. Kicking out a pregnant woman? He's lower than I thought. I'm fighting back, Clara said, her voice steady. I've got a stake in Technoverse. Small, but it's a start. I need someone who knows the company's weaknesses. Elias chuckled, a sound both bitter and intrigued. You're playing a dangerous game, kid. Leo's got claws. So do I, Clara shot back. Will you help me? Another pause. The camera zooms in on Elias's face, his eyes narrowing as he leaned back in his chair. Meet me tomorrow. Midnight. The old diner on 7th. We'll talk. To Clara in the diner, the neon sign buzzing outside. Elias slid into the booth across from her, his expression unreadable. You sure about this? he asked, sipping black coffee. Leo plays dirty. You could lose everything. Clara leaned forward, her voice fierce. I've already lost everything. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about my child, and every woman Leo's ever stepped on. I'm taking him down, Elias. Are you in? Elias studied her, then nodded slowly. I'm in. Let's burn his empire to the ground. The glow of Clara's laptop in the dim apartment, the hum of the city outside barely audible over the frenetic tapping of her keys. The music is tense, a pulsing electronic beat, as lines of code scroll across the screen. Clara, her face illuminated by the monitor, wore a look of fierce concentration, her pregnancy fatigue pushed aside by sheer willpower. A voiceover narrates, Leo thought he'd erased me. But I was still here, moving in the shadows. Clara's meeting with Elias had lit a spark. He'd given her access to old Technoverse financial records, pointing out cracks in Leo's empire, over-leveraged projects, ignored vulnerabilities. You're a ghost now, Elias had told her over coffee at the diner. Stay invisible, and you'll hit him where it hurts. How do I even start? Clara asked, her voice low, glancing around the empty diner. I've got a 5% stake, but that's nothing against his army of lawyers and brokers. Elias leaned forward, his eyes glinting. You don't need an army. You need precision. Buy shares quietly, through shell companies. Leo's too arrogant to notice a few blips in the market. By the time he does, you'll have a foothold. Back in her apartment, Clara followed his advice. She used her hidden savings, money she'd stashed in a secret account Leo never knew about, to set up anonymous shell corporations. The camera shows her navigating dark web forums, her fingers trembling as she wired funds to untraceable accounts. Each share purchase was a small victory, a step closer to her goal. The stock ticker on her screen ticked upward, 5.1%, 5.3%, 5.7%. She was a phantom, slipping through the cracks of the financial world. A late-night call with Elias crackled with excitement. You're doing it, kid, he said. But don't get cocky. Leo's got eyes everywhere. I'm careful, Clara replied, her voice steady. He won't see me coming. To a montage, Clara working through the night, her belly growing, cups of coffee piling up. She analyzed Technoverse public filings, spotting a pattern. Leo's rival was overextended on a risky AI project, one he'd personally championed. If it failed, the company's stock could plummet, and Clara could buy more shares at a discount. The music swells, a mix of hope and menace. Clara's tiny apartment, now a war room of sorts, papers pinned to a corkboard, a whiteboard scrawled with equations, and her laptop glowing like a beacon. The music is determined, with a steady drumbeat, as Clara balances her dual life. By day, she took on grueling freelance coding projects, her skills in demand despite her low profile. By night, she was the midnight coder, dissecting Technoverse weaknesses with surgical precision. A flashback shows Clara pitching a freelance project over a video call, her voice confident despite the bags under her eyes. I can optimize your database in half the time, she told a client, a startup founder. You'll see results in a week. Impressive, the founder said, raising an eyebrow. Why's a talent like you freelancing? You could be running a tech giant. Clara forced a smile. Just keeping things flexible for now. The truth was, every dollar went into her war chest. More shares, more power. Back in the present, Clara pored over Technoverse's latest earnings report, her pen circling a line item, AI development costs, $1.2 billion. The project was bleeding cash, and Leo's rival CEO was doubling down, oblivious to the risks. Clara's voiceover, Leo's arrogance infected everyone around him. They thought they were untouchable. I'd prove them wrong. A knock at the door startled her. It was Mia, carrying takeout. You look like you haven't slept in days, Mia said, setting down the food. How's the master plan going? Clara gestured to her whiteboard, a maze of arrows and numbers. I'm finding their weak spots. If I time it right, I can turn their mistakes into my leverage. Mia's eyes widened. You're really doing this? Taking on a tech titan while pregnant? You're a badass, Clara. Clara laughed, a rare moment of lightness. I don't feel like one. I'm terrified. But I can't stop now. Clara coding late into the night, her hands cradling her belly as she worked. A notification pinged, another share purchase, pushing her stake to 6.2%. The music crescendos, triumphant yet tense. In a bustling coffee shop, the clatter of cups and low hum of conversation creating a tense atmosphere. Clara sat in a corner booth, her laptop open to a research paper titled Ethical AI, a framework for the future. The author, Dr. Eris Thorne, a reclusive AI specialist who'd left Technoverse in a blaze of controversy. The music is intellectual, with a hint of mystery, as Clara's voiceover narrates, "I needed more than shares. I needed a vision to rival Leo's." Dr. Thorne was the key. Clara's research had uncovered Thorne's falling out with Technoverse CEO. He'd opposed their AI project, calling it reckless and unethical in a leaked email that had cost him his job. Now, he was off the grid, working on independent projects. Clara tracked him down through academic forums, sending a cryptic message, "I'm building something better. Will you hear me out?" To her surprise, Thorne replied, agreeing to meet. The camera shows Clara arriving at a nondescript warehouse, her heart pounding. Inside, Thorne, a wiry man in his 40s with intense eyes, greeted her. "You're Clara Voss," he said, his voice cautious. "Leo's ex. Why should I trust you?" Clara met his gaze. "Because I know what it's like to be betrayed by him. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to build something real, AI that doesn't exploit, that serves people. I think you want that too." Thorne studied her, then gestured to a workbench covered in circuit boards. "This is my prototype," he said. "An AI framework that learns ethically, prioritizing human values over profit. Technoverse wanted to weaponize it. I walked away." Clara's eyes lit up. This could change everything. If we integrate it into Technoverse, we could outmaneuver Leo's empire. Thorne crossed his arms. "You're pregnant, broke, and taking on a titan. Why should I bet on you?" "Because I'm not giving up," Clara said, her voice fierce. "I've got a stake in Technoverse, and I'm gaining ground. With your tech, we can rewrite the game." Thorne hesitated, then nodded. "Show me your plan. If it holds up, I'm in." A dimly lit basement cafe, the air thick with the scent of espresso and secrecy. Clara, Elias, and Dr. Thorne sat around a small table, laptops open, their faces tense. The music is conspiratorial, a low thrum of strings, as encrypted video calls connected them to a secure server. Clara's voiceover, "We weren't just a team. We were a rebellion, united by a shared enemy." Clara laid out her strategy, her voice steady. "We've got 6.8% of Technoverse shares. It's enough to start a proxy battle, force a board meeting. If we play it right, we can push for a new CEO, one who'll embrace Dr. Thorne's AI framework." Elias leaned back, stroking his beard. "Bold. But Leo's got loyalists on the board. They won't budge without a fight." "That's where you come in," Clara said, turning to Thorne. "Your framework is a game changer. If we leak its potential to key shareholders, they'll see the future, and it's not with the current CEO." Thorne pushed up his glasses, revealing his prototype specs on his laptop. "This AI learns transparently, with built-in ethical guardrails. It's faster, safer, and cheaper than Technoverse's bloated system. If we deploy it, we could dominate the market." Elias whistled. "That's a hell of a pitch. But we need to stay off Leo's radar. One slip, and he'll crush us." Clara nodded, her eyes steely. "We move in the shadows. No names, no traces. We're ghosts until the moment we strike." Shows a montage, late-night strategy sessions, Clara drafting shareholder letters, Elias contacting old allies, and Thorne refining his AI code. Their camaraderie grew, a mix of respect and urgency. One night, Clara paused, her hand on her belly. "This is for you," she whispered to her unborn child, a rare moment of vulnerability. A sleek conference call setup, Clara's apartment transformed into a command center. The music is a heartbeat-like pulse, as Clara, now visibly more confident despite her advanced pregnancy, initiated the proxy battle. Her screen displayed Technoverse shareholder portal, her 7% stake a silent threat. The voiceover, "This was the first shot in a war Leo didn't know he was fighting." Clara, guided by Elias, sent an anonymous proposal to the board, demanding an emergency board meeting to review the CEO's leadership. The industry buzzed with speculation, headlines flashing across the screen. Mystery investor shakes up Technoverse. The camera cuts to a glitzy tech gala, where a smug Leo, arm around Serafina, dismissed the news alert on his phone. A proxy battle? He laughed to his inner circle, sipping champagne. Some hedge funds fishing for attention. Technoverse is mine to control through my allies. Back in Clara's apartment, she watched the gala on a live stream, her eyes narrowing at Leo's arrogance. "Keep underestimating me," she muttered. A call from Elias popped up. "The board's spooked, Clara. They're calling the meeting in 48 hours. You ready?" "As I'll ever be," she said, her voice steady. "Thorne's framework is our ace. We leak it to key investors tomorrow." The scene shifts to Clara and Thorne finalizing a white paper on the AI framework, its potential to revolutionize the industry spelled out in stark terms. They sent it to select shareholders, encrypted and untraceable. The music builds, a crescendo of anticipation. A glitzy tech gala, chandeliers sparkling, champagne flutes clinking, and the elite of Silicon Valley mingling under neon lights. The music is upbeat, almost mocking, with a smug undertone as the camera follows Leo Maxwell, arm in arm with Serafina, his glamorous mistress. Leo, in a tailored tuxedo, radiated confidence, his smile a mask of untouchable arrogance. The crowd parted for him, whispers of his tech empire trailing in his wake. The screen flashes a headline, Technoverse faces proxy battle. Who's behind it? Leo glanced at his phone, chuckling as he showed Serafina the alert. "Some nobody thinks they can rattle my cage," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "A proxy battle? Please. I've got the board in my pocket, and Technoverse CEO is my puppet." Serafina, her red lips curling, leaned closer. "You're untouchable, Leo. Whoever this is, they're wasting their time." Leo addressing his inner circle, a group of slick-suited executives at a private table. "This is a blip," he declared, raising his glass. "No one challenges my empire and walks away. I'll crush them before they know what hit them." Shifts to a flashback of Leo in a boardroom, years earlier, orchestrating Elias's ousting from Technoverse. His voice, cold and calculated, echoed, "Elias is a relic. We need fresh blood, my blood." The memory underscores his ruthless ambition, his belief that no one, not even his pregnant wife, could threaten him. Back at the gala, a junior analyst approached nervously. "Sir, the proxy battle's gaining traction. Shareholders are asking questions about the AI project's costs." Leo waved him off. "Let them talk. They'll fall in line when they see the profits." His laughter rang hollow, a crack in his facade. The camera lingers on his face, his confidence blinding him to the storm brewing. The music shifts, ominous and low. Leo thought he was invincible, but the real threat was closer than he knew. In Clara's cramped apartment, now a nerve center of strategy. The music is a tense pulse, like a heartbeat, as Clara, now 9 months pregnant, sat before her laptop, her face calm but her eyes blazing with focus. A video feed displayed Technoverse boardroom, where the emergency meeting she'd triggered was about to begin. She adjusted her headset, her voice steady as she connected remotely, her identity still hidden behind an anonymous proxy. "Ready?" Elias's voice crackled through her earpiece. He and Dr. Thorne were in the boardroom, acting as her proxies. The camera cuts to the sleek Technoverse headquarters, where board members in tailored suits fidgeted nervously, unaware of the storm about to hit. "I'm ready," Clara replied, her hand resting on her belly. "Let's do this." In the boardroom, Elias stood, his presence commanding despite his age. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice steady, "Technoverse is at a crossroads. The current leadership has mismanaged funds, betting billions on a flawed AI project. We propose a vote to replace the CEO with someone who prioritizes innovation and ethics." The board murmured, some nodding, others skeptical. Dr. Thorne stepped forward, projecting his AI framework specs onto a screen. "This is the future," he said, his voice intense. "An ethical AI that outperforms the current system by 40%. Shareholders are already buzzing about it. Ignore this, and Technoverse risks obsolescence." A board member, loyal to Leo's ally, scoffed. And who's funding this little coup? Some shadowy investor? We need names. Elias smiled thinly. All in due time. The question is, do you want to save this company or let it crash under bad leadership? Clara, watching remotely, clenched her fist. Her stake, now at 7.5% after relentless share purchases, gave her leverage, but not control. The camera zooms in on her screen, showing real-time shareholder votes trickling in, swayed by Thorne's white paper. The numbers were close, too close. The music builds, a crescendo of suspense. Clara was watching from the shadows, but the real battle was about to begin. The boardroom doors swung open with a dramatic thud, silencing the murmurs. The music surges, a triumphant orchestral swell, as Clara Voss stepped in, her presence electric. Gone was the tearful, discarded wife. In her place stood a poised, radiant force, her pregnancy only amplifying her strength. The camera pans across the stunned board members, their jaws dropping as she walked to the head of the table, her eyes locking onto each face. "Gentlemen," Clara said, her voice clear and commanding, "I believe I have the controlling interest." She slid a tablet across the table, displaying her accumulated 51% stake in Technoverse, built through months of covert share purchases. Gasps echoed through the room. The camera zooms in on Elias, a proud smirk on his face, and Thorne, nodding in approval. A board member stammered, "Clara Voss?" "Leo Maxwell's wife." "Ex-wife," Clara corrected, her tone icy. "And the woman you underestimated. I've watched this company falter under reckless leadership. That ends today." The camera cuts to a flashback. Clara, late at night, finalizing her latest share purchase, her laptop screen showing the critical 51% threshold. She'd used every freelance dollar, every ounce of cunning, to outmaneuver Leo's allies. "Back in the boardroom," she continued, "Technoverse needs a new vision. Dr. Thorne's AI framework will lead us there, ethically and profitably." The loyalist board member stood, furious. "This is a stunt. Leo will." "Leo has no power here," Clara cut in, her voice like steel. "The vote is happening now. Choose wisely." The music peaks as the board, swayed by her presence and Thorne's data, began casting votes. The screen flashes numbers, 60%, 70%, 80% in favor of ousting the CEO. Clara stood tall, her hand on her belly, a silent promise to her child. Chaos at Technoverse headquarters. The music is a frenetic mix of strings and percussion, mirroring the shock rippling through the industry. News tickers flash. Technoverse ousts CEO in stunning coup. The camera cuts to Leo's lavish office, where he sat, phone in hand, his face pale as he read the headlines. His assistant burst in, breathless. "Sir, the board voted. Clara Voss, she's taken control." Leo's glass of scotch slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. "Clara," he whispered, his voice cracking. "That's impossible." Flashes back to the boardroom, where security escorted the former CEO out, his protests drowned by Clara's calm directive, "Ensure all his files are secured. We're auditing everything." The board, now fully behind her, nodded in agreement. Elias leaned over, whispering, "You did it, kid. You really did it." Back in Leo's office, his phone buzzed with calls from panicked investors. "What the hell happened, Maxwell?" one shouted. "Your deal with Technoverse is dead." Leo's strategic partnership, his lifeline to billions, was unraveling. The camera zooms in on his face, his arrogance replaced by dawning terror. A montage shows the fallout. Stock prices for Leo's company plummeting, Serafina packing her bags, her face cold as she left him. "You're toxic now, Leo," she snapped, slamming the door. The man who'd called Clara baggage was now alone, his empire crumbling. Clara, meanwhile, stood in Technoverse boardroom, addressing the staff via video feed. "This is a new era," she said, her voice steady. "We're building technology that serves humanity, not exploits it." The employees cheered, inspired by her vision. The music softens, triumphant yet ominous. In Leo's world was collapsing, but Clara's was just beginning. A sunrise over Manhattan, the city bathed in golden light. The music is uplifting, a soaring melody, as Clara, now Technoverse CEO, walked through the company's redesigned headquarters. Employees greeted her warmly, their faces alight with hope. Clara's voiceover: "This wasn't about revenge. It was about building a legacy, for my child, for every woman told she wasn't enough." Her first act was unveiling Dr. Thorne's AI framework, now branded as Phoenix AI. At a press conference, Clara stood at a podium, her pregnancy a powerful symbol of resilience. "Phoenix AI is the future," she declared, as journalists scribbled furiously. "It's ethical, transparent, and built to empower, not control. Technoverse is no longer a machine for profit, it's a force for good." Shows a montage: Clara implementing employee-centric policies, flexible hours, childcare support, diversity initiatives. She hired Elias as an advisor, his expertise shaping the company's new direction. Thorne led the AI division, his vision finally realized. The industry buzzed, with headlines praising Clara as the visionary who saved Technoverse. But shadows lingered. Clara met with her audit team in a sleek office, their faces grim. "We found irregularities," the lead auditor said, sliding a report across the table. "Unethical contracts, hidden slush funds, and direct ties to Leo Maxwell's company." Clara's eyes narrowed. "Expose it all," she said. "Let the world see who he really is." The music builds, a mix of triumph and foreboding, as news leaks began to spread. The screen fades with text. Clara was reshaping the tech world, but Leo's secrets were about to unravel. The hook: what would the audit reveal, and how far would it bring Leo down? With a frenetic newsroom, screens flashing headlines, Technoverse audit uncovers shocking misconduct. The music is a tense, pulsating rhythm, mirroring the chaos rippling through the tech world. In Clara's sleek new office at Technoverse Innovations, she sat at a glass desk, poring over a thick audit report. The camera zooms in on highlighted lines: unauthorized payments to Maxwell Enterprises. Data breaches covered up. Unethical AI testing protocols. Clara's face was a mask of resolve, her hand resting on her belly, now just days from delivery. Her lead auditor, a sharp-eyed woman named Lena, leaned forward. "This is explosive, Clara. These ties to Leo's company, millions in kickbacks, falsified reports. If we go public, it'll destroy him." Clara nodded, her voice steady. "Then we go public. No more shadows. The world deserves to know." To a press conference, Clara at the podium, her presence commanding despite her advanced pregnancy. "Technoverse has uncovered evidence of systemic corruption under the previous regime," she announced, cameras flashing. "We're releasing the full audit to regulators and the public. Accountability starts now." The crowd murmured, journalists typing furiously as the news spread like wildfire. Across town, Leo watched the live stream in his dimly lit office, his face ashen. "She's bluffing," he muttered to his last loyal aide, his voice trembling. "She can't prove anything." The aide shook his head. "She's got documents, sir. Emails, wire transfers, your name's all over them." The scene shifts to a montage, news outlets blasting the scandal, tech titan Leo Maxwell implicated in Technoverse fraud. Investors pulled funding from Maxwell Enterprises, stock prices plummeting. Social media exploded with hashtags. Hashtag Claravos Rising, hashtag Leo Maxwell Falls. Clara's voiceover: "I didn't just want to win. I wanted to expose the truth, for everyone Leo hurt." The music builds, a mix of triumph and menace. A stark image: Leo's once opulent office, now half empty, boxes stacked in corners, papers strewn across the floor. The music is somber, a slow piano melody, as Leo sat alone, his tie loosened, a bottle of whiskey on his desk. The camera pans to his phone, buzzing with notifications. Contracts cancelled. Investors flee Maxwell Enterprises. His empire, built on charisma and ruthlessness, was collapsing. A flashback shows Leo at the height of his power, sealing a deal with Technoverse's former CEO, their laughter echoing over champagne. "We're untouchable," Leo had boasted. Now, the camera cuts to a boardroom where his last allies deserted him. "You're toxic, Leo," one executive said, standing to leave. "We're cutting ties." Shifts to Serafina, packing a suitcase in their penthouse, now repossessed by creditors. "You said you'd protect me," she hissed, tossing a diamond bracelet at him. "You're nothing now." She stormed out, leaving Leo staring at the empty space where his life used to be. Meanwhile, Clara's star rose. At Technoverse, she launched Phoenix AI to global acclaim, its ethical framework winning over skeptics. The camera shows her addressing a packed conference hall, her voice resonant, "This is technology for the future, for our children, for a better world." The audience erupted in applause, her pregnancy a powerful symbol of creation and resilience. Back in Leo's world, a final blow landed, a subpoena from regulators, citing the audit's findings. His hands shook as he read it, the weight of his crimes crashing down. The music swells, a mix of despair and inevitability. At a glittering tech conference, the crowd buzzing with excitement. Clara, now a global icon, stood backstage, preparing to deliver the keynote. The music is triumphant, a soaring orchestral melody, as she adjusted her earpiece, her newborn daughter asleep in a stroller nearby, cared for by Mia. Clara's voiceover, "I'd fought for this moment, not just for me, but for her." The audience, where a disheveled figure slipped in, unnoticed by security. Leo, his suit wrinkled, his face haggard, looked nothing like the titan he'd once been. He'd lost everything, his company, his wealth, his reputation. The camera flashes back to his desperate spiral, nights in a cheap motel, dodging reporters, begging old allies for loans. Now, he was here, driven by desperation. As Clara took the stage, the crowd roared. "Technoverse is leading a revolution," she declared, her voice strong. "We're proving that innovation doesn't need to come at the cost of humanity." The camera catches Leo in the shadows, his eyes fixed on her, a mix of awe and bitterness. After her speech, he cornered her backstage, his voice low and pleading. "Clara, please. I was wrong. I'm sorry, for everything. Give me a chance to make it right." Clara turned, her expression unreadable. Their faces, the tension palpable. "Leo," she said softly, "you threw me out in the rain, pregnant and alone. You called me baggage. Why should I believe you now?" "I've lost everything," he stammered, his voice breaking. "I know I was a monster, but I can change. For you, for our daughter." "Our daughter." Clara's voice sharpened, cutting through his plea. "You lost the right to call her yours when you abandoned us." The music swells, a mix of sorrow and strength. Leo was begging, but Clara held the power. Continues backstage, the air thick with tension. Leo stood before Clara, his once confident posture replaced by a pathetic slump. The music is quiet, a haunting piano note, as Clara studied him, her eyes searching for any trace of sincerity. The crowd's applause from the conference hall echoed faintly, a reminder of her triumph. "I don't want your apologies," Clara said, her voice calm but firm. "Forgiveness isn't owed, Leo. It's earned, through remorse, through change. I see neither in you." She stepped closer, her presence towering despite her smaller frame. "You built your empire on lies and betrayal. I built mine on truth." Leo's eyes welled with tears, but Clara's expression remained distant, peaceful. "I've moved on," she continued. "I've found my path, my purpose. I'm done with you." He reached for her hand, but she stepped back, her gaze unwavering. "Please, Clara," he whispered. "I have nothing." "Then start over," she said, her voice final. "Like I did." She turned, walking back to her daughter, leaving Leo alone in the shadows. Clara, as she rejoined Mia, lifting her sleeping baby into her arms. "You okay?" Mia asked, her voice soft. Clara smiled, kissing her daughter's forehead. "I'm free." Clara at Technoverse, leading with compassion, headlines praising her as the queen of ethical tech, her daughter giggling in a sunlit office. The music is warm, triumphant. A sweeping aerial shot of Silicon Valley, the sun rising over a new era. The music is a powerful, uplifting anthem, as Clara stood at the launch of the Phoenix Initiative, a foundation empowering single mothers and female entrepreneurs in STEM. The camera pans across a diverse crowd, women of all ages, their faces alight with hope, inspired by Clara's journey. At the podium, Clara spoke, her voice resonant. "I was told I was nothing, a discarded wife, a burden. But I rebuilt my life, not for revenge, but for purpose. The Phoenix Initiative is for every woman who's been underestimated, who's been told she can't. Together, we rise." The crowd erupted, the camera catching young women in the audience, some tearful, others cheering. A montage shows the initiative's impact, scholarships funded, coding bootcamps launched, single mothers mentored by Clara herself. At Technoverse, Phoenix AI became the industry standard, its ethical framework adopted globally. Clara at home, her daughter now a toddler, playing in a cozy nursery. Clara's voiceover, "This is my legacy, not just a company, but a movement. For my daughter, for every dreamer, for a world where no one is underestimated." The final shot shows Clara at a tech summit, her daughter on her hip, surrounded by admirers. She was no longer the pregnant engineer Leo discarded. She was a global icon, a beacon of resilience. The music swells to a triumphant crescendo. The pregnant engineer he underestimated now runs the game. The end.